So Koala recently added a huge update, bringing in an internal or built-in synthesizer. So what we're gonna do today is put it through its sound design paces. So the first thing I'm gonna do, go to a blank bank, and then to get to Quokka, you have to hit samples down here, and normally it'll take you to this area. You need to go to more, and there you'll find Quokka. They also added MIDI out, so you can actually control stuff with MIDI. We'll talk about that in a future live stream though. So then you gotta hold down on Quokka like you would a sample and put it on a pad. So we'll put it here, and then this is our default sound. So we're gonna get into the filter in a second, but to start, let's talk about the first page we get to, Oscillator. So we have the octave, so we can change the octave here, and we're just gonna set it to 0. Next up is the shape. So these are the waveforms. So you can do a sawtooth, a square wave, a sine wave, or noise. And then you can do anything in between each of them. So we're gonna set it to a bit of a morph between the square and the saw. And then there's this morph button that, as you can see, when you start playing, this one, it starts to kind of change the waveform a bit, so you can morph the waveform. So we're just gonna do about 9.3 on morph. And if you're following along on Quokka, let's just set it right in the middle between square and sine. Then mono is if you want it to be a monophonic synth, so one note at a time, you can enable this. You do get glide, so it can kind of move between sounds. I'm not gonna do that, I want a polysynth. Next, we're gonna go to filter. So this is basically just gonna let us move the filter around and change the sound of the synth. So if we drop it down a bit, you'll hear we can just kind of change the texture, drop out some high frequencies, or we can set it to bandpass. And I like that on Koala you have a visual cue. So here, this red bit is what we're actually doing of the filter, like where we're controlling, and then you can see the frequencies that would be playing, and we can adjust it and all that type of stuff. And then high will take out the low end. So we're gonna go with low pass, and I'm gonna set it to 450, so pretty low. And I'll explain why in a few minutes. We have to get over to LFOs next. Then resonance is gonna add a peak, as you can see right there. We're gonna do 48 for resonance. We'll take this drive. This is adding distortion, which gives some really nice harmonics to it. I don't want a ton, maybe just a little bit. Next up, we're gonna go to LFO. So these are low frequency oscillators. So this lets us modulate the sound that we've got going on. And so I want the target to be cut off, but just so you can see, we also have pitch, shape, morph, cutoff, and amp. So you can alter the sounds of all of those. You can have movement to the pitch, to the shape, to the morph, to cutoff, and even your amp envelope. So we're gonna do a sine wave for the waveform of this LFO. Then we're gonna go and sync the speed, which is this little quarter note. You wanna hit that little quarter note right in the middle. We're gonna go for a really slow speed because I don't want it to do a lot. I'll show you what it does on a quicker one in a second. And then depth, we want not a ton, just about 2.5. And now you can see it's barely doing anything, but if we up the depth, hear how we're seeing that sine wave, and this is how it's changing the filter. Usually, yeah, you can see the filter move. I know the screen's a little far, but if you're following along at home, you'll see a little red line moving across the cutoff. So we don't want that much, that's excessive. But if you want to go for that like dub stuff and things like that, you can do things like that. But we're gonna set it back over to 1 and then cut off to about 2.5. What this is doing is just kind of subtly moving the filter as we play. It's going to just give us a little movement in the sound. I like to have that, especially when we're in these digital synths. A little movement is nice. Sometimes doing it on the pitch gets that kind of Boards of Canada sound, especially if you add some drive and things like that. But we'll leave it at that for now, and just so we can kind of hear, if we play the polyphony, we can get a little bit of a pad going. But now we really need to get into the envelopes, and this is going to control the sound as we're doing it. So I'm going to up the attack a lot, and see, you can see the little white dot showing how it's moving. Basically, we're going to add a lot of decay so that, as you can see, and I love that we can see this visual form of it. It's going to just, when we let go, or when we hold it, it's going to kind of ring out longer, especially if we go with sustain. Now we'll up that release, and the release is when we release the note, it'll keep playing it. So if we do none, it just drops off as soon as we go. You can see this huge drop in that waveform or the shape. But if we add some release, you'll see it starts getting a gentle roll off. So it just comes off a little lighter, it just keeps playing. It's the same when we have samples, there's attack and release, same thing there. Next, we're gonna go to the mod envelope and we are going to do just a little bit, I think, on pitch. Again, go for that little Boards of Canada sound. I wish we could sync this, but that's okay. Let's go for a slow MS. And if we do a ton, you can hear it's doing like a little slide. I just want a little bit, so it just gives a little more depth to the sound. That should work. So if we go back to our pads, not bad. So if you want to put a bus effect on it, which I highly recommend for these synths, go to mix, go to main, and change it to whatever bus you want, and then you can add all those effects. Koala also added a chorus. We'll use that for the bass in a second, but now it's in bus A. All right, first one is done. Let's open or go to a new pattern, and we're gonna do 96 BPM. And I'm debating if we want to chop this up. I think for now we'll just keep it as it is because it is at 96 BPM, so it should be fine. Let's just put it there, go all the way across. All right, that should do it. Okay, perfect. So we'll probably chop those drums up later, but I want to get back to designing the sounds. So to get to chromatic mode in Koala, all you have to do is in sequence, just hit the keyboard and choose whichever one you want. Now it defaults, at least for me, you might be able to change what it defaults to, but to a pentatonic scale. And that's cool. I think we'll stick with pentatonic for now. Because we have the pitch set to the default, it should be C, which is totally fine. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's play that beat. Yeah, I like that. Okay, next up we need to get a bass. So let's just do it. Rather than going back to samples and all that, we're gonna just copy this one over and then we'll go into edit, go to presets. And there are a bunch of presets, but there's not that many good like synths actually, like polyphonic synths. There's only a couple there. So, and there are some basses, but I want to design a bass. So we're gonna just hit default and then we will start fresh. So for our bass, we're gonna do a square and just a straight square wave, nothing in between or anything. We're gonna go down an octave, okay? And we're already getting a little more bass there. And if we wanted to, we could put some sine there to kind of thicken it, but I almost feel like that lessens the impact, but we'll see as we start kind of adding in the filter and the drive and stuff like that. Okay, so then we're gonna go to the filter and we'll stick with the low pass cutoff. I'm gonna go down a bit more than the other one because we don't need as much high harmonic content since we are doing bass. So we'll leave it at that, but I will up the resonance a little bit and then we'll add some drive. Maybe let's do about 390, that should be good. On the LFO, we're gonna go to cutoff and we'll do a depth of about, let's do about that. And let's do, what did we do? We did about 6.4, we might do more. Let's do also on 1. Okay, you can hear the filter moving a lot more than the other one was. Get a little resonance on there. That should work. I like that. Next up, we'll go to our amp envelope. We'll add a little attack and then a short decay, long sustain though, and then some release. And I think we need to drop it. Yeah, one more octave. That works. Now listen to that bass. Now let's try just moving kind of. Ooh, I like having just a little bit of that sawtooth in there. And a little morph. And then I think that'll let us take that filter down a little bit. Okay, and then lastly, do we want anything on the mod? Oh, I know, we'll do morph on the mod envelope. Add a little depth. There we go. So we up the time to 1422 ms. And the depth is at 52. Oh, I like that. That works. Okay, that should be good. Let's hear. Oh, I like that bass. I just wanted a little bit louder, and I actually think we need a little more cutoff on it. We are actually gonna make this one mono and add some glide. That should give it a little bit more movement to it. Yeah, I like that. That's not bad. I think we just need, let's go in and change a couple of things on there. So if we go to that ending, let's stretch this one over. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I just smoothed out that little bit, and I like that we can kind of see everything that's moving around. If you look, like anything you're modding, you see move around and things like that. Okay, now that we've got that, I'm going to add a couple of effects. Okay, I'm gonna try adding chorus to the bass. And this is a new effect they added too. I don't know if it was the same day as Quokka, but it was pretty recent. I just want a little bit on there. And then I think we'll add a little warble. All right, and now let's put on bus A, let's get that pad thickened up a little bit. I'm gonna mute the drums and the bass for now. And we're gonna add, I think to start, I can't help myself, I always have to add bit cooker. I'm looking for that like sample rate drop. You can hear what it's doing in those low things. Maybe we'll do 12, and then bit depth, I'm gonna drop to 14. Let's add some chorus, why not? And then I think we'll add a little delay. Sync it and put on maybe a quarter. And then we'll put on some warble. And lastly, we're gonna put on sidechain, and we'll put that on bus D. So it's kind of moving under the kick a little bit. I didn't even change the settings yet, but that sounds pretty good to me. We're also gonna put that on the bass. I want a lot more sidechain on the kick. There we go, that works. Last thing we need is a lead. So we're gonna copy this one again, but we're gonna shut off the bus effects, and then we're gonna go to default or default. We got that again. Okay, so now on the Plex synth, what we're gonna do is on oscillator, we're gonna put the shape, actually we're gonna leave the shape as a saw. And then on morph, I don't think we're gonna do any morph yet, we'll see, but let's get over to the filter. We're gonna put the filter to 400, and then we'll put resonance up to 30%. I'm gonna add just a little drive, let's say 18%. Over on the LFO, we are going to do a cutoff. Actually, we're gonna do pitch. I want that kind of pitch warble. Let's just do maybe a little, like 1.7%. And we're gonna set this to really slow speed of, let's say 2. That's too much actually. We want 0.07% is actually what we're gonna go for. Just a little pitch change, kind of make it sound a little analog. All right, and then on the amp envelope, we're gonna do 0 ms attack or 1 ms attack, and then decay 150. So a really short pluck sound, sustain to 0, and then release at 200. And I think we need to up the octave. So you can hear this is very much that kind of like plucky EDM type synth. So I think we will change it a little bit, but before we do that, over in the mod envelope, let's go to the cutoff and we'll just add a little, yeah, this is a nice way to kind of get a really percussive sound out of a pluck. So if we don't have any of this mod envelope on, and it's just on cutoff, the time is at 83 ms. If we don't have any on there, check what it sounds like. Let's get it right to 0. Let's just tap it to 0. So it's kind of weak, but when we up it, if we look at the filter, you can see when it starts, it hits much higher than where it's going, and then it brings it down really quickly. That's kind of the beauty of the mod part. So I think with some effects, we could get something cool, but what we'll do is, that's a little too plucky for kind of this song. So I think we'll add some decay, add some sustain, and then let's actually drop that mod envelope a little bit, just maybe like 7.7%. That should fit a little better with the song. Now, instead of pentatonic, let's try a minor. We gotta switch to this one. out kind of what sound we want. I think first, let's get that over to bus B. Let's put some sounds on there. We have that delay and reverb left from the first track we did, that sample track. So let's hear how that sounds. That should work. Okay, and we're also going to mono this one with a little glide at, let's say, 26 ms. Up the filter to 700. Up the attack a little bit. Let's say 16. Oh, that's perfect. And then let's change some of those effects. Let's do a slower 3/16 and a quarter. More reverb. It's definitely a nice lead. If we up it another octave too, it has a decent sound like that old school rap type thing, hip hop. But let's drop it back down. I want more of that. I'm going for that more like Boards of Canada IDM sound with this. So we are gonna change the drums and make a new beat because I really like the melody and the bass and all that of this track. I'm not feeling that session drummer from Logic, but what I wanna do is just chop some things up. So let's go over here. We'll go to this one. We made that duplicate. We're gonna go to our drums and I'm gonna get rid of these drums because we're gonna go D, and let's shorten this because we don't need all of these. I think all we need is kind of right, maybe here. Let's even just go right there. I'm truncating the sample because then what I'm going to do is go over to tools and auto chop. And if we just do equal, that does not look right. Let's do 8. That's still off. At equal, we could fix it, or we could do the transient and up the chop one more. There we go. So now we've got, that should work perfectly. And let's chop it. Okay, so we have a couple hi-hats. These two kicks are a little bit different. You can see in the waveforms, they are slightly different. So we'll put that there. I'm gonna move that hi-hat, get rid of that one, put this kick here. And on this kick, we're going to drop the low end a little bit. Also, I forget which update, but Koala added per pad EQ. There's only 3, so you can't do a ton of shaping, but we can take out some of that high end on both of these. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, this snare we're gonna put here. I'm gonna put this snare here and I'm gonna take out the low end on both of them. This one a little less, and then we're gonna go over to the sample on the second one because I like that it's off like that. What I want to do though is make like a rim, and it's a little off time, which I like. We've got some silence at the start, and then we'll just drop the volume. This one has a little clicking at the start, and it's a little off actually. So let's go here. We'll add just a little attack. That one should be good. I'm just gonna truncate it. Okay, let's find our hi-hats. These are all pretty similar. So I think we'll stick with that one and that one. Okay, let's hear what the track we've got is doing. Okay, we'll put in the snares on time. We'll quantize those. Okay, I want that first kick. And then we'll shut off the quantize and we're gonna do some kicks off grid. Want a little bit at the end there. There we go. Okay, let's get a couple hi-hats. We can take all of those hi-hats actually. That might work really well, especially if we do maybe like slight volume changes. Maybe that'll work. Yeah, let's just try it. I'm gonna copy that though. Let's actually do with Quantize on, because we already got the kick kind of going off. We've got a lot of swings, so that should work. Let's hear what that, oh, we gotta move this back over. Okay, we need one more kind of hi-hat that's doing more. Let's see if we can get this one. Yeah, that should work. Take out that, and if there's any kick, you can see there's kind of some kick ring out. We chopped it off, but see all that low end? We want that off. There we go. Okay, now what we're gonna do is pan this one to the right, and then we're gonna pan the other ones. I think if we hold edit, we can do all of them at once. Pan these to the left a little bit. Drop the pitch of that one. Drop the volume a little bit. All right, that sounds pretty good to me. My Koala Sampler cheat sheet got all three of these synth recipes added, as well as a quick start guide to Quokka, everything we went over today, and then additional stuff. The link is in the description. Channel members get it for free, and channel members at the Solar Sailor tier get all of the samples we make with every live stream. So if you want to get these sounds exactly, they'll be up for Solar Sailors. From there, let's look into, oh, I know what we need, those drums. I was like, those drums are sounding kind of like too clean for me. We're gonna put Bit Cooker on it, drop that right down. Let's say 12 with a sample rate of 12. I like it gritty on drums. So I just want to add a couple other things to the drums. We're gonna put a compressor on. Just a little bit. Short attack and release. And then we'll do some drive. Lower the out a little bit. And then I always like just a little bit of reverb. That's a lot, right? It sounds terrible like that. But just a little bit's gonna just give a little room to it. And then, do we want to add anything else? I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now when it comes to performing the track, we could do it a couple ways. We could just do mutes, right? And then bring stuff in as we go. Using the ESP. That works. I mean, I think we'll do that for this. If I were to finish this track, which I probably will, I would probably do a bunch of sequences, drop things out, do stuff like that. But I do love with this mixer, you can kind of just live perform some sounds and things like that and just kind of go for it. I know what we need to do before we do anything else. The last thing we'll do for this track is we need to make a little mastering chain. So I can't help myself. I always do Bit Cooker. We're going to just drop the bit depth a little bit. I love things to just get kind of gritty, and we'll just drop this a little bit. And then we're going to go and put on a compressor. We're going to need the song to play though, so I can kind of hear. I don't think we're going to need a lot. I just want a little. We're going to do a very low ratio. Really long release, long attack. We're just doing some light mastering to kind of bring things up. I'm going to add a little warble. I want this song to be pretty messed up. Little more Bit Cooker actually. Let's drop that sample rate. So this is it with it mixed to 0, mixed to 100. And then let's get a limiter. just bring that volume up a bit. Okay, I think that's good. I think with that on there, we could also add the Bus 3 and 4 SP special sauce with cassette sim and compressor, but I'm gonna leave that off because I want to stick everything to just the internal Koala. But when we perform, I am gonna use the SP performance effects because I can't help myself. It just makes it so much more fun. And if you got some value out of the video, I'd love it if you'd hit like, help spread the word, share it if you dig it. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm gonna jam out this track, just do a quick jam using these performance effects. This thing glitched out with the wow and speed just stuck there. I guess I'll just have to live with that. Let's start with everything muted, but the pad, I am going to see if I can just, let me see if I can get these performance effects. It's a very delicate balance with these, the cabling I have today. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get both in the shot. So before we go, I just want to quickly talk, if you want to move beyond doing just track mutes for jamming and actually sequence a jam, you can move all of the sequences you built, all of the different sequences, you can combine them into one. And so what I like to do is kind of just combine all of the different patterns I've made in values of like 2 and 4, basically even numbers. And I just slowly add more and more parts. And then in each of those variations, when they're on a single sequence, I'll go in and add some changes to the drums, maybe take some drums out, do like pairbacks where I take the drums in the start of a bar so there's nothing, or at the end of a bar to kind of lead into the next transition. And then yeah, then I just play it through and export that as the final jam. So if you want me to cover sequencing more, let me know in the comments and I'll do a live stream. And if you enjoyed this video, this is actually an edit from a live stream. So if you want to see more long form beat making where you can join me in the chat and ask any questions you have, anything like that, I do live streams every other week on Saturdays. So just subscribe and check the community posts because I post before I go live on there. And I'll see you in the live streams. Thanks for watching. Start. Now we're making the drums just a little more interesting, adding some hi-hats, just some kind of ear candy. That last bit has that fill, so I don't think we need to add much there. Let's see what that sounds like.